Today's video, know your numbers. So what does that mean? As a dental hygienist, we use a tool called a periodontal probe to measure the gums. And what that does is take little measurements in millimeters to measure below the gum line to see how healthy your mouth and gums are. Normal, healthy gums measure 1 to 3 millimeters. Disease starts at 4. 5 and 6 means you're more into a periodontal disease. And then anything over 6 is probably more of a severe disease and you have some bone loss. So I'm going to use a couple of models a little later in this video to describe the bone loss, show you measuring and what that means. We measure 6 points on the teeth and then we look at your X-rays for bone loss. So there's a few different things that we do to see if your mouth is healthy. And it's important that you know the health of your mouth. You have to be your own healthcare advocate. And if you don't know the health of your mouth, how do you know what's going on with the rest of your body? So what happens is the bacteria in your mouth and the plaque buildup when you brush your teeth, especially if you have gum disease, that plaque now gets into your bloodstream. And it's been shown that there are 18 different diseases that are linked to the plaque and bacteria in your mouth. So if you have a diseased state in your mouth and you're only brushing once a day, or you're getting bleeding, you are getting that bacteria into your bloodstream, which then can contribute to heart disease, low birth weight, preterm delivery, Alzheimer's, kidney disorders. There's so many more. So it's really important that you know your numbers and the health of your mouth. So let's take a look on a model, how a dental hygienist measures the numbers, what that means, how your toothbrush can get below the gum line, what it looks like when you have a healthy bone versus diseased bone. And then you can make sure that you know your numbers when you go to the dentist, you know what questions to ask, and you know, is your mouth, your dirty mouth, contributing to what might be going on systemically. And as a dental hygienist, I have learned that when we can't get control of what's going on in someone's mouth, it usually means there's an imbalance in their body. So if you're having bleeding or you have gum disease, it could be a sign that you have something else like cancer, leukemia, diabetes, thyroid problem. All of this can be diagnosed with your mouth. So when you go to the dentist, it's now no longer just about cleaning your teeth. And your hygienist doesn't just clean your teeth. She looks at your medical history. What medications are you on? Are you having dry mouth? Because dry mouth contributes to cavities. And sometimes the medications you're on contribute to the dry mouth. So there's so many things that your dentist and dental professional, your dental hygienist, can tell you about what's going on in your mouth and then which products you choose based on what's going on in your mouth. So let's take a look into what could possibly be going on in your mouth. So I'm going to show you on this model what it looks like when your dental hygienist is measuring your gum with this probe. So this particular probe is color-coded to make it easier for you to be able to see down below the gum line. The green is 1, 2, 3. The white in between is 4 and 5. And when you get to the red here, it's a 6. And then it goes 7, 8, 9, 10, and down below. So if you have numbers that deep, that's probably not going to be good. Your dental hygienist will usually start on tooth number 1 or 2. This model has 1 through 16. 17 through 32. It looks like it's missing number 19 right here. So I'm going to start on number 1, and normally they'll start and go all the way across on the outsides and then come back along and go on the insides. And we measure 3 spots on the teeth. So we measure what's called the distal, the straight, and the mesial. So I'm not going to go quite the way that we would normally do this just so you can see what's happening, but the hygienist will take the probe and gently walk it down below the gum line. So you can see this is a 3. And then she'll kind of walk it across and measure points on the tooth. And it could fall, down below here or when we walk in. Generally, we measure the distal, the straight, and the mesial like I just said. So if she walks it in, this is a 3, still going over to 3, coming back over, this would be a 4, and then moving to the next point of the tooth. 3, walking around. Now I can push it down here to a 6. So you can see how far down this probe goes below the gums if this is a 6 millimeter pocket. It's almost impossible for you to get your toothbrush that far down below the gum line. So your toothbrush bristles can usually sweep about 3 millimeters down below the gums, which is why we like them to be 1, 2, and 3, because you can get in there and get the bacteria out. The bacteria gets this far down below the gum line. It's almost impossible for you to get in there, and we need to get in there and scrape that out. So on this model, you can see down below the gum line. I'll show you on this model what it looks like and what we're actually looking at and why we kind of scale and do this blind. But on this model, it's a great demo of these numbers. Let's measure what your hygienist would normally be doing. So 3, 3, 3, 4, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. So I'm doing it a little faster. 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 6, 6, 5, 3, 4, 3, 3, 3. Then your hygienist is going to come back around. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 6, 6, 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Not too many people said 1, 1, 1 up there. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, and we measure a little bit more in between here, but I'm just kind of showing you for the video. 3, 2, 3, and obviously you can't tip upside down like this, but it would be very nice for us if you could. 2, 1, 2, we have to lean over, so the further you can tip your head back, the easier for us. 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, we lean over all day long. Sometimes I can't even stand up by the end of the day. 3, 2, 3. Then we move to the bottom and we do the same thing on the bottom teeth. Let me move it a little closer so it comes in. So 3, walking the probe around. This would be a 6. See how far down that goes? So this, usually when we're probing, it goes down to where the bone is. So you can see the bone through here and how it kind of scallops. In healthy teeth and gums, it kind of comes straight across and it's higher up here. So on this model, this is already showing bone loss, and I'll show you on the other model a little better once I show you the gum measurements. And I know I'm taking a long time doing this, but I just want you to get the idea of what the dental hygienist is doing. She's walking this probe around and measuring the space between the bone and the gum here. So that's what she's doing. She's gonna put this probe down, and where the bone is where it's gonna stop. And you have a loss of attachment here if this probe goes this far down below the gum line. So it's healthy when it only goes and only to the green here. Oops, I'm moving it. 3, 2, 3. 3, 2, 3. So you can see this is obviously a deficit. This is going to be more like a 6 to this bone here. So your hygienist is going to measure to where the bone level is here. But I'm just kind of showing you the 3, 2, 3 and not making it all be diseased like here 6, 6, 6. So where you've had bone loss, if you have bone loss like this, your teeth are more than likely going to be loose when we wiggle them because you've lost this much bone. And this is why we need the X-rays, because your gum tissue is here, your bone level is here, and we can't see that. I don't have X-ray vision. It would be great if I had that superpower, but I do not. So 3, 3, 3. 3, 3, 3. 3, 3, 3. 3. Get it down in there. This would be 6, 7, 8. 6. And then coming back 3, 3. 8. Then you're just going to come around this way. 3, 2, 3. 7, 8, 9, 6, 2, 2, 4. Okay, so you get the point of what it looks like when you're measuring the gums and what you're doing. So this is more what your teeth look like, and that you have gums and we cannot see below there when we're measuring. And so we're using this probe and just kind of blindly taking this probe until it stops and let us know how deep that is. And this is why it's important that you know that. This model is good because I can peel the gums back, and you can see even though this tooth is lost, the bone kind of comes straight across here, and then it kind of moves up and scallops. Same thing on the bottom. On this side, it's the healthy side, and the bone pretty much goes straight across. So when we take X-rays, we are looking to see, do you have any cavities between the teeth that we can't see? Where is your bone level? Is your bone level up to where it's supposed to be? So you can see that this is where the enamel of the tooth starts. This is the hard part, the enamel of the tooth. And then right where this line is, this is called the CEJ, where the cementum meets the enamel of the tooth. So it's the cemental enamel junction, CEJ. This part of the tooth is the dentin. It's the inner layer of the tooth, and it's softer and more susceptible to getting cavities. So when you've had bone loss and you've lost the bone and you've lost the gum and this part of the tooth is exposed, it's usually yellower. These teeth are very yellow. Most people's teeth are yellow, but they want them to be white. But this yellow part that you see when you look in your mouth is actually the root of the tooth, and it's going to be more susceptible to getting cavities. And when you let the plaque sit along the gum line and you only brush once a day, it weakens the tooth. Your teeth can take a lot of abuse. Your enamel is the hardest substance in your body, and it's also the only part of your skeleton that you clean. Just a fact. So you would need to make sure that you're brushing at least twice a day to remove any plaque and bacteria that build up on there, because if you don't remove the soft deposit and it gets down below the gum line and you're not sweeping that off, not only does it cause bone loss, it causes tartar buildup. So I'm going to pull this off of here, and you can see this is the tartar buildup. So when we can see tartar on X-rays, it usually looks like this down below the gum line. The thing is, look at what happens. You don't see that when you look at your teeth this way. I don't have the gums in there very good, but you can kind of see like a dark spot underneath the gum line, or your gums look kind of purple through here, because what you're seeing is that tartar that now has turned dark. So you can see this spot right here. This is tartar here. I can feel it, so I can feel it. Sometimes when you're probing, your probe actually stops here on the tartar and doesn't go down below the gum line. So sometimes you have to move your probe around this tartar, or you have to get the tartar off and then reprobe. So I could be getting a false 1 millimeter reading here because my probe is stopping on this and I'm not getting around the tooth and down to here where it's actually a 6 millimeter pocket, you can see. This is why it's important to get your teeth clean, because you want to get this plaque and calculus off before it's been there so long it turns dark. And then when you're not getting down there and cleaning the tooth, you can see that tartar just keeps growing and building all the way down to the bone. When you have it here, this is when the teeth start to become loose, and we do a mobility and they can wiggle. When they can wiggle, this would be a type 3 or 4 mobility. This is pretty loose. So you should not be able to wiggle your teeth. Some people have a normal like little plus movement here and the teeth do move a little bit, but if your teeth can wiggle like this, you probably have bone loss and you've lost the support, and that's why your teeth are loose. And you're definitely going to want to see a dentist. Sometimes they can splint them to hold them in and save them longer, but sometimes you're just going to lose them and you may need an implant. The problem here is you've now also lost the bone. So if you are eligible for an implant, you're now going to have to grow some more bone in here for the implant to stay and have something for it to hold onto. All of this is preventable by going to the dentist early, taking your kids to the dentist early, and brushing and flossing daily. Once in the morning, once at night, so you get that off. Or if you've missed something in the morning, you can at least take your time and get it off at night if you're in a hurry. Because this just builds up and accumulates, and it doesn't just go away on its own. You need somebody to help get this stuff off and scrape this stuff off. When you've got this much tartar, this is when your dental team or your hygienist is talking about doing what's called a deep scaling. And that you usually are going to need to be numbed up because we're going to have to go down below the gum line and scrape this off. And we do it by feel. We can't see it. The only way to actually be able to see it is to go see a periodontist, and they will pull back the gums like this, not quite this much, but they'll pull back the gums and they'll be able to get in here and see and clean all this stuff off and know that they're getting all of that off. So you can see that that builds up. You can see on these lower front teeth how there's still some buildup here, but it's not as dark and thick and heavy as it is back here. So the longer you go between getting your teeth clean, the more this stuff builds up and gets thicker and darker and harder to get off and harder to scrape off. And we use a machine called the Cavitron or a piezo, and it vibrates at 4,600 RPM a minute, and it's like a little jackhammer and gets this stuff off. So your instruments have to be very sharp to get this off, because otherwise you just pick part of it off and you burnish it into the root surface and it doesn't come off all the way. So when you have to scrape all this off, you can imagine this is what causes sensitivity, and this is why you're going to want a sensitivity toothpaste, because the sensitivity toothpaste closes those tubules off, or the fluoride does that as well. So it closes that off and makes it not be susceptible, because this is now protecting your tooth and you're scraping that off, and now you've opened everything up on the tooth, and that's where you get sensitivity. So this is what I mean by knowing your numbers. Know your bone health. Get X-rays. See, is your bone straight across? Is it scalloped? Have you lost that? Do you have any mobility? What are your numbers? Are they 1, 2, and 3? Are they healthy? And you know, if it's just gingivitis, a lot of times gingivitis, even if it's a 4 millimeter pocket, it's not because you've lost this bone, it's because the gums are inflamed. So if I were to put this back up, you can kind of see how it looks like the gums are puffy and kind of peeled away from the tissue. Stick this back up in here. So you see what I mean? Sometimes when this kind of pulls away here, it's just inflammation. And when you get in there and brush twice a day, every day, it squeezes back up and it's tight along the teeth. If it looks rolled like this, then that's showing that there's starting to be some disease, and your gums can't talk. So they bleed to say, help me, brush me more. So you want to make sure in that case that you're taking your toothbrush and you're angling it towards the gums, so the bristles are getting down below the gums a little bit and they're cleaning down below the gum line. If you have a manual toothbrush, you have to get it down in there, and you actually have to do the circular motion to get in there. When you have an electric toothbrush, and you guys that know me know that I love this burst because the bristles are tapered. See how when I kind of tilt that, you can see that? The burst, when you angle it at a 45-degree angle towards the gum line, it gets down below the gums and it massages the gums, and it will, it'll take, sometimes if they're this bad, it could take 7 to 14 days to make this be healthy. But then I can show you on this model that if you angle it towards the gums, you can see that this burst toothbrush gets down below there about 3 millimeters. So that's what I love about this burst toothbrush, and what I love about this model is you can see when you angle it, you don't even have to hold it, it's doing the motion for you. Let's see if I can do it this way. See how far down it gets below the gum line? All you have to do is hold it, and it will angle and do the motion for you. See how far it gets down below. So that's about 3 millimeters, but you have to be angling your toothbrush. And I would start on the back and then move forward. Hold it for a good 1 to 5 seconds, depending if you're getting bleeding, and then move to the next spot. So you can do 1 to 2 teeth at a time and move to the next spot. 1, 2, 3, move to the next spot. The longer you hold it, the longer it's going to massage the gums and make your teeth feel nice and clean. And you can see when you get to the inside, if you're trying to get the back teeth and you have pockets on the back, sometimes it's better to come over the top this way to get the back side of the tooth, and then just turn to get the insides or turn to get the outsides. You saw that little pause. Every 30 seconds this burst toothbrush pauses to let you know now it's time to change to the next side. So you should take about 30 seconds to go along the outside here, 30 seconds on the inside. So you want to make sure that you're not just brushing this fast, because you can see you're not giving the toothbrush time to get down below the gum line there. So you want to take your time and let it go around. So depending on how many teeth you have and the disease in your mouth, so you can see it shuts off after 2 minutes. You may need to turn it back on and go a little longer than 2 minutes to get all of these areas, especially if you have all 32 teeth. If you don't have all these 32 teeth in there, you're not going to need longer than a minute. But you want to take the time and let these bristles get down below the gum line. You can kind of see them taper. See how they get down below there? And just keep moving. So I know that this was a really long video, but this is know your numbers. This is how an electric toothbrush can get down below there and clean that out, and what a probe actually does and what your hygienist is doing when she calls out the numbers. If you're going to a dentist and they're not taking these numbers, sometimes they just don't tell you, they don't call them out loud, but you need to know, you need to ask. Know your numbers. If there's anything that I can do to help you, you can get a hold of me at support@dentalhygiene411.com. A healthy mouth is a healthy body and a healthy life. Thanks for watching.